And we're live. Welcome, Jim McDonald,
Hi, Johnny.
to the show.
How
My
are you?
white whale.
Not sure how to take that.
That's good. No, so to me
Okay.
that means like you are the guest I didn't think I'd get.
Oh no, it's all good.
Yeah, I mean
Weekender is a legacy thing. I love it.
you are the guy who started it all.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Let me tell you, we had a lot of good times. It was interesting. Um, it's funny as I think back. It was a time in my life where there were a lot of challenges too. So maybe focusing on that and seeing some success with it was, it was a good memory.
Yeah, so let's go back. I mean, it started in 1993.
Yep.
Tell us about. I mean, it was an entertainment weekly for me, especially. I mean, but I mean for a lot of people that I think not only employees that work there, but just the community in northeastern Pennsylvania. It definitely changed people's lives, so to speak.
Right. Well, I'm not sure they were ready for it.
Yeah,
And I can tell you to a person, I can't tell you how many times I heard that will never work. Right. There were just a couple of important believers, and it was a night and day thing, but something that you're passionate about and pushing through is worth it, I'd say. And it really was something that, listen, I think I love where I came from. It molded me. It was great, good to me in so many ways. And there's so many people there I love and are friends with, etc. But it's 10 years behind. Let's face facts of what it was. And they weren't ready for a lot of the things that we were talking about, gay clubs or Condom Man or whatever, model of the week. I could go on and on and on. We had so much fun on Valentine's Day. We did the area's best divorce lawyers. So, we kind of took it as making fun of the area that needed to, taking some shots at it so it would advance socially.
right.
And it was a lot of fun. And I remember an ad campaign we did called "Either You Get It or You Don't." You either get it or you don't, and that's really what it was. Every week we'd sit around, we talk about stuff, and we're like, "Oh, this will be crazy," So, and it was highly effective. People read it, and as a result, they used the advertisers, and away we went.
So, are you or were you from northeastern Pennsylvania?
Dallas, Pennsylvania,
Dallas, Pennsylvania.
Wellington Ave. A
Born and
lot of good
raised.
memories there.
So, I mean, were you asked to start this product, or were you like, you know what, we need this to happen, and I'm going to do it?
There's a little, I have a little known and seldom used fact about the Weekender is that I started it before I started it with the Times Leader on my own.
Right.
And I stopped publishing it for about 3 or 4 months. I can't remember. That's a long time ago. I can't remember exactly. And I met an executive at the Times Leader on Public Square. I think I was listening to like one of those lunchtime concerts or something like that. Who knows?
They had those
Um,
back then?
I think they did, yeah. Or maybe I was just there looking at girls. I mean, I'm not sure. But so, he said, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't know. Looking at different businesses to start and things to do." I wasn't quite sure. He said, "Why don't you come and talk to me?" So I came and talked to him, and he had seen the things I had done. I had done another paper before that, had grown up in the distribution business that my dad had. So we started talking, and I said, "Let's restart the Weekender. I'd like it to be more edgy." And with the Times Leader's distribution capabilities and infrastructure, et cetera, it made it a lot easier. It was a little tumultuous internally because they gave me free reign, and that was kind of my request. Like, I'll do this, but I see how successful these things are in other cities, and we're going to have to, take some risks on it. And there were plenty of calls. Oh my God, plenty of calls. People couldn't believe it. A condom on the cover, a man dressed up in a con, uh, costume, all kinds of things. Our first story ever was about a girl that was putting herself through college by stripping.
Yeah.
So, and it was a Catholic college. There were all kinds of things like that, we'd sit and we kind of giggle about, but that's life. I mean, stuff like that. And people there were afraid to talk about it. And that's why we pushed the envelope.
Right. And you did a great job. I mean, um, I'm familiar with you, just mostly your name. I think I met you maybe once or twice during my time at the Weekender. So, I mean, for me, you were like this like legend, that you like you
I
existed,
wouldn't
but
go
you
quite
didn't.
that far. I wish I was taller. I'd be more legendary, maybe. But
But no, I mean, like there's this thing that you started it, and I don't know that there's been anything since that product that's done the same thing. Obviously, print media has taken a hit, with social media and the internet and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
And
fragmentation.
but I just don't think that. I mean, I think by the time I got there at the weekend, or not that I was going down by any means, but like you couldn't do as much because I don't know, people started getting offended and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
Like,
they were offended from the start. Make no
right,
mistake. But here's the thing. I had this kind of, it wasn't, I won't call it a protection card or anything like that. As long as I was successful with it, there was a strategy at the Times Leader that we were taking market share from a key competitor. And that's how I sold the project. And I said, you want the back page ads off of the Citizen's Voice? Do you want to open up markets that you don't have in the newspaper and gain market share? I'll do it. And we did it. So it was a business strategy as much as it was fun and an editorial strategy as well. But what happened is after I left, I think that there's always internal power struggles in every newsroom, in every news organization. I've run plenty since then as well, and I've seen it over and over. And so the newsroom reached in and said, "Well, we need to straighten this thing out." Well, straighten the thing out. It was the most widely read newspaper in the Northeastern Pennsylvania, more than the Scranton Times, more than the Times Leader. I remember when we had a research study done and that came out, the editor of the Times Leader walked out of the room like shaking her head. She couldn't believe it. And, I was like, well, what did you expect? We're engaging people. It's not the same product. You don't have to worry. So,
right,
but I think that's really what happened is, so as time went on, different people latched onto it and had control and didn't want to take risks. For a while there, right after I left, or actually right before I left, Disney bought the company. So our competitors started to like send the paper into who was it then, Bob Iger, and say, how could your clean company, family company Disney, print something like this? So, it was good strategies, I guess. They're fighting, I'm fighting, we're all fighting for market share. But all of those things combined led it to be a little bit tighter, I'd say,
right,
than we had reins on us. And listen, I think if we had those same reins on us in the beginning, it wouldn't have been as ubiquitous of a reader thing. It wouldn't have gained the flair. I mean, it was covered by the, Eyewitness News a couple times for things that it did. And we just had a lot of success. People would talk about it. I'd go out to dinner and I'd watch people asking the person they're sitting with questions, reading the Weekender, like the model of the week, asking, the guy would be asking his girlfriend questions. And quite frankly, we just made them funny. It wasn't like some deep thinking thing. It's like, what's your favorite color?
right.
And as a result, I think it gave people an opportunity to look at themselves through a more, I don't know, humorous lens. Um, if you don't have humor, you're never going to be happy, right? So
Right. Absolutely. And when did you leave?
96.
So you
I
weren't there that
thought
long.
that it was getting tighter on me, and I had an opportunity to go down to Baltimore and work at the city paper, which was a larger city, a larger market. I think one of the things that made me do it is when I started discussing it internally, one of the executives said, "Oh, you'll be a small fish in a big pond there. Here, you're a big fish in a small pond." And I was pretty like that. That's all I needed to hear. The thing about me is, I find the great thing is life is doing what people say you can't do, right?
Right.
So they said I couldn't do the Weekender, said I couldn't be as successful in a big market. Well, towards the middle of my career, I launched probably the largest daily newspaper launched in the last 50 years in the United States. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, in Washington, the Washington Examiner, 260,000 daily delivered papers.
Wow. Yeah, I definitely want to get into what you did post Weekender, but as far as the Weekender goes, how old were you when you started that?
Oh, come on. You're going to put my age out
I
there?
have to
You're
because I
killing
have
me,
to.
man.
I need a frame
Come
of
on,
reference.
man. You know the thing.
We're not
Let's see.
girls.
How old was I? I can't remember back that far. No, I think I was 30. Well, what year is it? 31.
Yeah, so you're young, right? Like,
I mean, I was younger than that mentally, I think. Then
right, but
anyway.
like, so, I mean, how did you? I mean, so you're this young guy, started this paper that like took off like wildfire. Um, what was that like for a young guy? Like, kind of almost, I don't know. I feel like you probably felt like a little bit of like a king of the world for a minute there.
That was good. I mean, listen, but I had some some things that just made me put my head down and focus on the work there for a while. I lost my mother. I had a long-term relationship and all kind of at the same time, right? So to me, it was put your head down and work and be successful at this. It's a great opportunity. And then it started emerging and being really popular, and I just had a lot of fun with it. I mean, that's kind of who I am. I like to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
Walk around sad. I'm a total optimist. Tell me I can't do something, and I'm going to find a way to do it.
Well, yeah, you're not going to be successful if you're not optimistic, right?
100%. Yeah.
But
Or
yeah, so
happy.
yeah,
Really.
absolutely. But so you start this, you ended a long-term relationship, you said, but like now you're like, it had to be fun. I mean,
Oh, it was so much fun. Hey, listen, our first edition, the whole team went skydiving,
that's amazing.
right? And we wrote about it. And if we had a website then, it was like right prior, there was video on the helmets. We would have probably published that too. So, that was actually really good because it really built a bond with the team. And I don't know if you've ever been skydiving, but you don't jump out of the plane. They turn it over and you fall out of the plane. It's,
I've never been before. No.
it's a total rush. I have a need for speed for some reason, but it was a really cool thing to do up front. I I didn't really talk to the execs at the times before we did it. I didn't even really think about legal ramifications, but after they saw the article in the paper, there was a lot of like, oh boy.
Well, that's cool though. I mean, it's cool to make people react.
Yes,
No
100%.
matter what it is, whether it's readers or employers or whatever it might
As long
be.
as you're not hurting anyone, that's
Exactly.
let's get a reaction out of them. People got mad about stuff. I don't know. Maybe their lives are not great. I don't know, but I don't see why.
I mean, did you think it would be as big as it was when you started it?
Well, I'm a big thinker that way. I actually one of the other reasons I left is we had approved to move into Allentown and start another weekender. My thing was to go right down Eastern Pennsylvania into Philadelphia with the model. And then Disney bought us and they pulled the plan back. So I was a little off about that and I waited. And then, just certain opportunities came up and I took them and it led to a lot of other great things in my life. So, that's a path you go.
Yeah. And looking back, 'cause I know you popped in and out through the years. Um, you know, are you sad to see what? I mean, are you happy with its success as it continued to grow? After you left, but also kind of sad to see you know the turn it took where it kind of went downhill.
Terribly sad. Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's hard for me to see that. I don't want to see it go away. I've started a bunch of projects. That's really the first one that was really successful for me. So obviously it holds a place. I was really happy to see this success because it was built off, it doesn't all happen up front. The structure was built for that. The brand was built for it, and they took it to another level. And there were some good people. Rachel was great. I didn't know them all. I do know Rachel and I really, really like her. I think she did a terrific job there. And, part of that I believe was she was really passionate about it. And you have to be, and you have to put your blinders on because everybody has an opinion, and doing things the right thing, move
Yeah,
forward.
and I think as it continued on through the years, I feel like management always kind of wanted to have their hands in it, and they
Mm.
always. I remember they wanted to kind of move it into a digital direction, but never gave us the tools to to kind of go that way. Um, but I feel like that happens a lot with
Right.
products or whatever. It could be newspapers, it could be whatever. People have these big ideas, they want it to go somewhere, but they don't want to put the time and effort behind it or the money. Um,
Well, and part of that is, you've got to sell that internally too, right? That idea, that strategy had to be sold internally amongst competing interests that are looking for capital. Um, so it wasn't compelling enough, I guess, when people put that forward to management or they prioritized other things. I think they missed the mark, quite frankly. I was surprised as I watched them pull back from Scranton and taking market share out of Scranton, particularly because the competitor up there, whom I work for, and I very much like the family, um, you know, why would you pull back if they're competing in your backyard? I would have gone harder,
right.
frankly. That would have been the way. If I ever came back to the Times Leader, I'd be dropping something into Scranton the first week. Not because I dislike them much, just because I think it's a good strategy.
Right. No, of course.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
I like the Lions. They're great people.
now, did you say you worked for them now, or you worked?
No. I worked. That's where I went actually. After I left the Weekender, I went to Baltimore. They owned the Baltimore City paper,
Right. Okay.
so I stayed there a year, and then I went to New York and ran the New York Press, which was a great, fun ride, and where I met my wife.
Awesome. It's amazing how many people went from the Times Leader to, you know, Times Shamrock. It
Well, they're
really
big.
is.
Obviously, they recruit, right? That's part of their strategy. It's smart.
Yeah.
If you take the best people away from your competitor, they're less competitive. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's where I went when I left the Weekender.
oh, where did you go? To the Scranton Times?
Oh, well, I went to their radio products.
Okay.
Yeah, which is where I currently am now for the next 2 weeks.
Gosh, I had some good friends there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I there's probably at least 10 people who between the years of 2013 and even 2015 who kind of jumped ship and came to Times Shamrock. It was funny too because I remember being on the Times Leader side, and when Rich Connor was the editor for the um, Times Leader and the publisher, and it was really kind of like almost like a war,
Right.
which was exciting. I mean, like I like competition. I grew up in the Michael Jordan era where if you talk trash to him, he'd like just bury you. So like it was fun. Like so, Weekender had the Electric City, Diamond City. So I mean, like I like that. And I don't know where it stands today. I think um the fire has kind of died between the two. I'm not.
That was my question to you more so was how is that doing? Who's winning that battle between the Times Leader and the Citizen's
Well,
Voice?
it's all a numbers game, right? It's you can cut up those numbers any way you want to. We're number one daily or we're number one circulation.
Black and
We're
red. Right.
Yeah. So and I mean the pandemic changed everything too, right? I mean, it's definitely. But as far as like either side shouting from the rooftops that we're this or we're that, it's been kind of non-existent. Which I guess, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's surprising that we could still be a two newspaper town, right?
Look for a consolidation. I can't see it happening any other way. I'm in mergers and acquisitions now of media companies, and the newspaper business is challenged. It's the nicest word I can use.
Yeah.
All over the place, and there's not a lot of places for them to go. Fortunately, digital properties are starting to learn how to make money and be profitable. Maybe don't have the same sales volumes, but they'll get there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't. I mean, when I left the Weekender and I left on my own terms, I always thought the Weekender was this like it's like that girlfriend who cheated on you that you still love but you hate at the same time.
Yeah.
And I mean, even to this day, like I mean, it just I didn't leave because I wanted to. I mean, I left because I saw the writing on the wall, and um, I think I eventually would have been asked to leave,
Mhm.
um, and for no other reason than budgetary concerns or you know new ownership, cutting
Different
things out.
people, right? And they bring different people
Yeah,
in, and
which is fine. Um, but yeah, I was angry initially just because I mean I was an intern in '04 and I was like, one day I want to be the GM of this newspaper, this weekly.
Mhm.
And I loved that thing. I mean, I was when I started there, I was out every single night of the week, which it was amazing. I remember waking up and every day saying, I can't believe I get paid to do this. I don't get paid
Right.
much, but I get paid to party.
Right. It's true. And not get paid much was true too, which is why I went somewhere else at the end of the day, you
Yeah.
know. But listen, it was what it was, you know, in terms of where the company was financially when I was there, at least. I think they got tight on it and thought they could squeeze it, and that did not help it. As you were talking about earlier, there could have been reinvestments made in a digital product that would basically own Northeastern Pennsylvania right now. They could be pushing news through it. There's all kinds of things they could have done.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us were doing things, in 2007, we were doing kind of like teaser videos for, what was going to come out in the newspaper. And I feel like that was kind of almost ahead of its time, in that, it was a visual thing that lived online. Um, I'm trying to think of what I can compare it to that like makes sense to today, but like it was in 2007 we were doing that. We were doing party favors, which would talk about what was coming up the weekend and where to go and what to do. And
Right.
Mike Lillo and Nikki Mask.
1996,
What's
we
that?
did a thing online because we launched a website in 2000 or 1995.
Okay.
One of the first ones, right, for Cap Cities, because we were small, it was easy, small team. So, but in 96, I did this thing where we put bands online, so clips of their music, local bands. It was just kind of something to experiment with. That's what I like about it. There was this forward thinking about it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that in any political sense, right? I'm saying that in terms of socially in the Northeastern Pennsylvania region. There was a forward thinking about it, even from a technology standpoint, even about what, and it's good that that continued. I think that waned after maybe 2010, 2012. I'm not sure where it broke. I don't get back there that often. You know, I have family there. I have a lot of friends there. I'll go up and play golf, or drive through. My brother's in New York and drive through and have to stop at Grotto, of course. And that is not a paid advertisement. I'll just put that out there.
But Grotto, if you're watching or listening and you want to sponsor this podcast, by all means. I just had lunch there today, actually.
There you go.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of when I left in 2013, and it wasn't far after that it was kind of done, I think.
Right.
And right now, I think it's I was talking to someone who still works at the TL, and they stopped printing, I think, before the pandemic hit. And obviously, when the pandemic hit, it kind of stopped altogether. And I don't even think they update the website that often. I think she said that it has the audience, but they're trying to figure out how to reach them. But I don't know. I don't
That
know.
shouldn't be too hard. I should call them and buy it.
It's got to be cheap, right?
It'd be a lot of fun. I don't know how my wife would feel about that right now, but driving in from 2 hours away.
Where are you at now?
So I live outside of Philadelphia in Gwinnett Valley. It's Fort Washington area. I guess best described, if you've driven down the turnpike, I'm sure it's between Lansdale and Fort Washington.
Okay.
Lansdale and Plymouth meeting the way the turnpike.
It's not far.
Not
There's
at
less
all.
traffic now on the road. You'll get here in no time.
Oh, hour and a half, I can make it. Oh, wait, this is being recorded. Never less than 2 hours, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to do it, but how to do it and make money but nostalgia is all the rage.
Kinds of revenue streams that you can get. You can do ticketing, you could do events. We used to have, so I'll tell you one of the things that happened, a quick story. We started this pubs and clubs section, and it was, target market share. And I personally did it myself. And you talked about it being fun. Well, I used to go out every night and I'd go to different bars and sometimes I'd have drinks, but I'd go out. That's when you could see the bar owners, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had this guy working for us, Ed. He's a great guy. He was so funny. Never made a deadline, I don't think, but who cared? He was a lot of fun. So he sold this campaign to Tinks. Do you remember Tinks? Is it even around? So we got the ad completely wrong on the first week they ran with us. Full pages for 52 weeks,
Yep.
tens of thousands of dollars, completely wrong. And 500 people showed up to see a band that wasn't playing.
Awesome.
They were furious and they were like, but we're not going to pull out because they
Right.
saw how powerful it was.
Yeah.
So we used to do a lot of events, model searches, all kinds of fun stuff at clubs. And, you know, I think there's an events component that could work there. There's a number of ways that you can generate revenue at the Weekender. It's really about the engaged audience. If you're engaging the audience, you can monetize it.
Right.
By the way, without selling or utilizing their data.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a pet peeve of mine, but that's a whole other podcast, Johnny. So
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, the digital world is a weird place too.
it's a sewer.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you're on Facebook, that's how we connected. Um,
But
you
I've
know,
totally limited it, really.
have you?
You know, I watch some of the stuff that goes on and I just eliminate that. I've been careful about who I let in. I'm honestly would say that if I didn't have a lot of far-flung family members, come from a huge Irish family, not only my own family, but hundreds of cousins, I think. I don't know. You know how the Irish are. Um, and I stay in touch with a bunch of them that way. So,
Right.
and I post pictures of my dogs and my kids. And, you know, I stopped a couple of years ago. I was starting to post some stuff, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm never going to convince anybody of anything on Facebook. Why would I even try?
Right. Yeah.
So I share stuff on it. I'll probably find another platform. I've just been too lazy to get off it, but I don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't feel good about it. I don't
Especially
like
when
what
Paul
it's doing to our society.
yeah.
I don't like how they act. I'm not a proponent of my kids on it. They use some. My son he doesn't use much social media at all. LinkedIn, believe it or not. But
Really?
yeah,
How old's your son?
he's 17,
Oh boy.
getting ready to go to school.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I've got two going to college same year. It's gonna be a rough year for me.
I was gonna say,
Losing
that'd be
all
a lot of
my
money.
playmates. I have nobody to my wife and I are gonna, I guess we'll travel. Who knows?
It may be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Exactly.
What are your thoughts on that? The whole pandemic and all that. This
I'm an optimist. It's going to be over soon. Not over, but more well balanced. And I think there's been a bunch of mistakes made. Listen, nobody knew how to handle it. So this isn't me pointing fingers at anybody. It's nobody knew what the right protocols would be. They've improved the way they treat it. But I can tell you this, I really abhor being locked, Listen, I never thought I'd be locked in my house without one of those things on my ankle. So, who knows? I mean, but in all seriousness, it's a very difficult thing, and I don't think anybody measured the psychological impacts it had and things like that. I'm fortunate. I live in a great area. I've got a lot of property. I'm out with my dogs, out and about, and swimming, whatever. I can do stuff. I'm not locked in a apartment. I couldn't imagine if I still lived in New York City,
right?
what it would be like just in a small apartment. I'd be going crazy.
Yeah, I have a cousin who lives in New York City, small apartment. He was a waiter at a high profile restaurant, and he couldn't work, and he's took it
Oh,
seriously, and I think locked himself in his apartment. I can't imagine, being alone and just kind of looking at your four walls all day. I don't
that
know.
is not the way to live. And I think that has to end. I actually think they're realizing that too. And we're finding out more every day about how to deal with it. So let's see what happens. Like I said, I'm an optimist and, it's not going to last forever. That much I know.
Do you think New York City bounces back?
No, not
Yeah,
right away.
no.
There's been bad leadership there. It's not the same as it was. I lived there, let's see, 97 to 99, which was a great time. I felt safe. I don't feel the same way about going into the city anymore. It's changed dramatically and not in good ways. It priced a lot of people out. There's big disparities there. So I still love New York City, so don't take that out of context. I just think with the pandemic, with the lack of leadership in the city of recent, and maybe further than recent, um, it's lost a lot of its luster. It's lost a lot of its residents and tax base. And I think people are realizing that they would rather be out of the city than in.
Right.
And listen, there's always a cycle. There was a cycle when people wanted to be in cities and not out of them. So they'll bounce back, but not for the next few years for sure. Could be a good time in about 18 months to buy real estate in New York City.
I think you're right. And also, I mean, there's so many places that, people work remotely now too.
Well,
Before,
everything changed. I've
yeah,
been working remotely for 10 years, so hasn't changed my life that dramatically. I laugh about it. It's pretty much the same thing for me every day, except for I have people home with me now to keep me company.
there you
So,
go. So the last 10 years, what have you been up to?
oh my goodness. Let's see. I mean, I did, when I left, I went to a couple of alternative weeklies. I ran the Alti in New York against the Village Voice, and we had a lot of success, and they went from paid to free when we were competing with them. I left there. I didn't love living in New York. You're kind of trapped on that island. It's not the same as, getting in your car and like driving to work, or, Philadelphia. I went to Philadelphia, ran Philly Weekly. Then I got picked off by Metro, which was a free daily. And that kind of launched the best part of my career for me because it was a turnaround situation. And we turned it around. It was high visibility. So it was a transit paper in Philadelphia. It was the first one in the United States, and they were getting crushed. And we turned it around. And I got noticed and taken down to DC to do a deal down there. And that's where I started the Examiner. I sold this billionaire from Colorado the company, and I did it with a prototype and a PowerPoint saying, "Hey, it is this today. You can make it this tomorrow." Um, and that was really good to me, and that helped my career as well. So since then, I've gone back to Metro. The CEO of Metro bought it and came back. I worked for him for a few years. I launched a magazine, which I sold. I've advised some different clients, some big companies, some small companies, and now I'm into M&A. I did another launch called BreakingNews.com, which we sold to MSNBC. So I've been at, startups, turnarounds, media, but I
Yeah.
found a way to always be around with my kids. And not, maybe travel 1, 2, 3 days a month. I did a deal in the UK actually for a private equity company as well in 16. So I was traveling a little there, but that was important to me. After I did the Examiner, I spent a lot of time on that, long days and nights to get that deal done. And my kids were really little, and I didn't really, I didn't want to live that way. So I made the change and found ways to always be there for Little League and cheerleading and all that kind of stuff that you would have never imagined would be me as I was running the Weekender. But that's been probably the best part of my life so far, quite frankly.
Yeah, I always say, the Weekender was never a place for someone that was, married with kids or even with a girlfriend or boyfriend. It's just not a place for that.
Yes, it was not conducive
No.
for family.
No, that's great. I mean, it's always nice to see people, realize the importance of family and being there. And I
No, it's
never,
just listen, your life evolves. We all
yeah,
evolve. That's where I went, and I didn't know that it would be that good. You know what I mean? So to me, I got lucky. I'm a very lucky guy in a lot of ways. And not everything I've done has been successful. And I've made plenty of mistakes and done a lot of stupid things in my life. It's just I try to make sure the good outweighs the bad. So
sure. And what would you attribute your success to? I mean,
I would
what,
never quit. I see something, and if it becomes a challenge to me, I have to do it. I played competitive golf. I didn't have the best swing, but I won. I found ways. You find ways to win if you want something, and that's tenacity, I guess.
yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's a lot of people who I talk to who are successful. That's a common thing right there.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just,
not
kind of,
Harvard and Yale. It's not that they hurt. Trust me, that's
sure.
great. You know, but if you have tenacity, you still have to have tenacity to
Yeah.
win. To me, it's like a game. But I did figure out that at the last, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years, whatever, that there were more important things than winning all the time too, right? So winning to me became a different set of values. Um, you know, maybe it was winning at Little League. We did win a championship there too, by the way. So. That
You
was
don't stop. You don't stop. You're right. You don't
one of the
stop.
great days of my life.
Oh man. I don't
But
know.
I mean, listen, life's about having fun, enjoying the people you're with, and I try to find ways to do that wherever I'm at.
That's good.
I saw
Well,
you have young child now,
I
right?
do. He just turned 3 in
Oh,
December. So,
just getting fun for you, starting to talk, and
yeah. Christmas was fun. He understood that, Santa was coming, and if he was bold, he wasn't going to come, and
the
ripped open the presents this year, and that was a lot of fun, and just to see the excitement on his face.
best.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I we had him. I guess I consider it late. I was 35 when we had him. My wife is 4 years younger than me, so she was 31.
Dude,
Um,
I was 40, I think.
yeah,
Something like that.
yeah,
My wife's she's a little younger than me, but
yeah.
like 11 years or something like that.
A little.
But hey, come on, man. Come on, man.
Oh, good for you. I'm not mad at you.
I told you I was lucky.
Yeah. Hey, I feel the same way. I always say I'm very lucky. But yeah, I wish so when we had him, because my wife and I, she's very smart. She's a pharmacist, so she's in school for 1,000 years. Because initially she wanted to be a doctor. It did 4 years of undergrad, then decided she didn't want to be a doctor. She wanted to be a pharmacist. So between pharmacy school and her undergrad, she's like, all right, well, if I don't get into pharmacy school, I'll at least have a year towards my master's. So she did, 4 years undergrad, a year towards her master's, got into pharmacy school, so another 4 years there. So I think a total of 9 years. And yeah, so you know,
That's like me in college. I was on the 15-year plan. 3 credits a year. No,
there
not
you
in
go.
all seriousness, but listen, there's something to be said to that. My brother's a professor, and just the lifestyle. It's a great lifestyle,
Yeah.
to be in school or to be studying or teaching.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, so she's really smart, much smarter than I am. And so like, we never rushed anything, and um got married in 2015 and then had our son in 2017.
yeah,
Wish we did it sooner, but everything happens for a reason, right? Um,
100%.
it's all
There it is.
good.
So that's what gets you where you are today, right? And
Yeah. But yeah, he's an absolute joy. He's funny now too. But he's also, they say terrible twos, and then I've also heard that three is worse than two.
yeah, so
That's
there's a couple periods I'll tell you that he'll start to really kind of latch onto you, and but he will be a little bit tough from maybe 3 to 5. Then they start to mature. Then like 12 and 13 and 14, when they start to gain independence, it's just a change, really. I mean, I was probably a lot worse. I can't imagine. I was the fifth of 5 boys, 5 rascally Irish boys,
oh wow.
Dallas, Pennsylvania. God bless my parents. That's all I can say. My brothers, some of those guys weren't easy either.
Well, that's probably where you got it from. You had to keep up. You had to
Yeah, let me tell you,
fight.
I
Yeah.
learned all the wrong things from some of them.
We never got in real trouble, right?
They're great guys, so please don't take that out of context.
Well, you didn't get in real trouble though, right? So you're still all right.
Yeah, listen, that's like the rule in my house with my kids. Don't do anything stupid that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. I know you're going to make mistakes, but
Yeah.
you know, um,
That's got to be hard now. I mean, you said they're not really on social media, but I mean, I can't imagine what it's like for, kids that have social media from the
I'm
day
sorry.
that.
Well,
What's
I
that?
know. Listen, it's brutal. It's
Yeah.
brutal. Especially for the girls. I think a lot of
Yeah.
times.
100%. I mean, it's
I grew up with all boys, so I didn't really have girls in my house except my mom. And my mom certainly, wasn't living through her teen years with me. So I didn't realize how brutal girls can be to each other until
yeah.
daughters. And yeah, it's
And
tough.
it goes from, bullying at school, then, now with the internet and social media, it goes home too.
Oh yeah,
So,
you can hide behind it, right? The
yep.
bullies hide behind it. That's true bullying.
Yeah.
So, I have no patience for that, quite frankly.
Yeah.
A bad trait.
As far as media
No
goes,
way. I think we'll cycle out of social media if you want the truth. Might take
that'd
a
be
few more
cool.
years. People are already starting to realize it's hard to do because there's not placements yet for communications or connections. But we'll certainly cycle out of this. I would push for them to regulate how their ad campaigns work, how they use our data. I don't need to be anybody's product.
Yeah.
So I'm an advocate of that in a big way.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. It's, they're people are making a lot of money off of us.
Yeah, and they're not helping. No, nobody's being helped by that.
Right.
Right. We're all gaining from this experience. Um, and there are certain things that we gain from, as I mentioned before, connections to my cousins or my family
Sure.
or old friends. Um, you know, that's really cool. It's great. But I did live a long time without that and I was doing fine.
Right.
Yeah. I could always pick up the phone. I wanted to call my cousin Mary or something. So yeah, I'm not thinking we can't do without it. I'm guilty though, being a little hypocritical that I still have it. And there have been a few times in the last year or two that I've even said, I'm done with this and I'll go off for a while. Then I'll check in, mostly out of boredom, because I have this phone in my hand, so I can check it when I'm bored. If I'm in an airport or waiting for a meeting, etc., my ADD kicks in. There I am.
Well, it's definitely convenient for times like that, though, right?
Yeah, for sure. There'll be a replacement, like there is for everything else.
Yeah.
It's coming.
I wonder what's next, though. I never thought we'd be net
Question.
here.
You know, that's a great question on how that will fan out. You look at, there's so much right now fragmenting the market. And it could go a lot of ways. It may end up being different types of media for different groups of people. I hope not. I don't think that's good necessarily that you get this tribalism, but we'll see.
Right. And being a guy that's been in media for a long time, what are your thoughts on media in general? And not to talk about politics at all. I'm just saying as far as media is and how they I don't want to say pick sides because that's not the right way to say it, but how they
Well,
present the news and
how they present the news is a
yeah,
much better way to put it. First of all, I'll say this. I have a lot of friends and there's a lot of great people involved. We all have a bias. We are human and
right,
it is there. Um, but what's happening, I believe, is the bias has become a business model.
right,
And, you know, it's not good. It's really not good. And it's not necessarily that all of the media are um, reporting fake news. I hate using that term, um, but it's the way it's presented. It's where you put the stories. It's how you headline them. And I'm not just talking about newspapers. I'm actually believe TV news is the worst at it. Right? They are the worst, most biased, and in all different ways, to the right, to the left. And it's bad for our country. It's bad for the news business. It's hurt the businesses, in my mind. Because when you lose the trust of the people that are your readers, you've lost a lot of value.
right,
So, it's going to be an important thing to gain back. And listen, that will evolve too. It could evolve the wrong way. I hope it doesn't. We have had a robust media. I've always paid attention to it literally since I was 6 years old. And my dad, would come home, we'd watch the nightly news every single night, right? And never missed it. We always read newspapers. We were in the business. So I grew up actually unloading trucks of newspapers and sleeping on them in the middle of the night, waiting for the next truck. Um, a couple times maybe because I had a couple drinks before I went. Hey, you
Shh.
gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have a very big, deep passion for the media business. I'm discouraged at what I've seen. And as it fragments more and voices become more calcified in one area or the other, it gets worse, because there's a kernel of truth in a lot of what they all say. And then they build off of that. So there's the bad news, So I think you really have to pick where you're going to get news, and actually look at several different sources to kind of format your own opinion.
Right.
How I look at it right now. And I try to teach my kids that too. We have deep discussions. My son's really smart. My daughter she's got this kind of sense about her, particularly about, she sees things in the market, trends and things like that. My other daughter has graduated and is actually living in Florida, but we have the same kind of conversation. So I try to teach them, don't just tell me you saw stories, so this is it. Look around, get facts from different places, and make your own informed decision.
Right.
And to go. And I'm not going to go into that right now, but I mean, I think we all know, where not to go. And it's on both sides, quite frankly. You've got it. So I'm in M&A right now, doing mergers and acquisitions in media. And there's people on the left that are buying up community papers. There was all strategies. And there's people on the right doing the same thing, and the people on the left complain when they see the guy on the right buying 500 newspapers, and the people it's just vice versa. No, not one is better than the other. So that's not what this conversation is about from my perspective. It's about,
Right.
how do we get news and important facts out to people so they're supporting the right things?
Yeah.
Lost our way that way. There used to be a thing about being a journalist, like it was an honor of sorts. The truth was paramount. And there was bias because bias is inherent in humans, but not the same way. It wasn't directed from the head of a network or the editor of a newspaper that you have to write a certain way, cover a certain way, go after this story harder than this story, or not do this story because it doesn't fit the narrative of all the other things they've written. And that's happening, quite frankly. And it's scary and disappointing.
Yeah.
But that being said, I want to say this. There's a lot of great media out there too, still, and a lot of great journalists out there too, that are telling the stories and doing the work. It does strike me that we don't get the same bombshell investigative stories that we used to get at one time, right?
Right.
The Watergates. And listen, we all know those stories are happening for sure. They're out there to get.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's cool that there's so many different outlets to get your news from, as opposed to just one that, that they could say whatever they want to and expect us to believe it. But I also think it's unfortunate that we have to, like you said, look up 5 to 6 different sources just to see like what's right. And then even at that point, it's like, well, what if 3 people are saying this and 4 people are saying this, like who's right and who's wrong?
so I try to look past that and glean the facts out of the content that I ingest, and make my own call. Tank agrees. He's barking in the back. He's in the back of my office with me. My other 2 dogs are downstairs. They're too big here to be up in my office. So I'm up here. But anyway, I think that's one way to do it. But I go to trusted sources too, or
Sure.
most trusted sources. I know a lot of people in media too. I mean, I kind of know where to look. If I'm in, I don't know, Southern Maryland or wherever I might be, Arizona, where do I look? And I'm not, and that's one thing I find, having worked on the inside, I step back and I look at how people look at it on the outside, and they don't realize that, I knew a lot of journalists at a lot of places, at the Washington Examiner. I mean, you know, and they had a slant. And it's just that's how it is. And you have to understand that going in that. And not everybody does.
Right.
There's the issue.
I think you're right. For sure. It's a crazy world.
Listen, I think we'll be fine. I think there's a lot of things that are moving parts here that we don't have information on yet, and we'll get through it. America always does. I lived through. Listen, it's funny. I was talking the other day to my kids about when I was growing up. I always thought that the White House, the Pentagon, these areas, the Capitol were impenetrable. There was always stories that if you jumped over the fence at the White House, you were shot by snipers, and that they had these beams that they could knock planes out of the skies and stuff. And in my life since then, I have seen the Pentagon hit with a plane and the Capitol overrun, and that scares me.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because I think America's got a lot of flaws, but it's got the right formula. If we apply it right, it's the right place. That's why everybody's so drawn to it. And everybody gets all flustered about, well, America stinks or America's great, whatever. What we've got is an aspirational country. We aspire to be better all the time. That's what it should be, right? We shouldn't be looking at it in these other contexts. If we can aspire to the values that were set forth and meet them or get better at them every day, we'll be great.
Right.
Yeah. You got to live with optimism, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, if nothing else from this conversation, being optimistic is the way to be.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, a lot of people right now with pandemic and all the other things, it's hard to have optimism, and we need to re-inject it. I think we need it desperately.
I hope we can. I hope obviously, again, not to get political. I mean, the results are the results. I've always been that guy. Like
move on. Yep, it's America.
The captain of I mean the pilot of the ship. I mean, we want him to land safely, right?
Yeah, you got to root for him.
So
your destiny's tied to that.
Yep.
That's what I can't figure out. And,
did I say pilot of the ship?
Yeah, the pilot of the ship.
Pilot of the plane. Captain of the ship.
You're thinking futuristically.
Jesus. Yeah, maybe.
A little too much Star Trek maybe in the early 90s.
Yeah. But, well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. Like cool. I said, I wanted to get the guy who started the Weekender, who ultimately, if that didn't exist, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today. I've always heard stories about you. Like I said, I met you a couple times.
Hope you didn't hear them all.
I'd love to hear them. I don't think we could record them, but
no, there's certain ones I probably don't want recorded yet.
But that's the joy of being at the Weekender when camera phones and things like that did not exist.
True. Oh, they should. Wow. If we ever recorded our editorial meetings, forget about it.
Yeah. Oh man.
A lot of fun.
But favorite Weekender moment, what would it be?
Wow. That's a really tough one. I think it was the day we launched it. It's just so exciting, honestly. And it was so hard because it was, it was hard to do it within the structure of the Times Leader organization. Some people didn't even want it done. And there were all kinds of roadblocks and people telling me they'll never work. And when it hit, it was almost like the first week we sent hawkers out in the street, handing them out. Totally rogue, I have to say. I don't think it was, we should have had people like in the middle of Wyoming Avenue handing out newspapers or Public Square or whatever.
Well, Christy Greer was talking about that she was.
Yeah, she was there, I believe.
Yeah. Yep, she was one of the people helping you hand them out.
There were great people I was working with. It was very, I have to say, it was a tough year for me that year. And I was very grateful to be able to get that out and done successfully. And it literally, I think I picked up the last ad 4 hours after deadline, and got it in. Everybody was like scratching their head. There's me in the composing room. And they don't have composing rooms anymore really in newspapers. But we were still doing paste up. That's how long ago it was, right? But so, I think it went to press at 1, and I don't think I slept that night. I think I waited for it, frankly, to come off the press.
Yeah, I think I would have too. That's cool.
So it was really cool. But there were many great moments being at events where thousands of people would show up, and um, it was a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And everybody, listen, there was we were fortunate. I was really fortunate that I had a team of people that were just filled with ideas. And we didn't have any pretense amongst us. There was no time anybody felt like they couldn't throw something out there, and we'd bust them if it was a bad idea. And they didn't mind. That's the thing. It wasn't mean or anything like
Right.
that. We had a great group of people. It was a lot of fun.
That's great. Well, thank you for doing this. Thank you for starting the Weekender. Thank you for being a pioneer, so to speak, in our area.
Well, thank you. Thanks for all the compliments. I'm not sure I'm worthy, but
No, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I mean, it was a great product, and people message me about these things I'm doing here, just like saying, "Hey, like, I was never at an event or whatever, but like I remember the Weekender and it was really great. The local music, yada yada yada." And that's kind of what I mean. I started doing this for me. It was a selfish, thing,
Mhm.
to an extent, because my memory is starting to get a little fuzzy, as far as like my life there. But then I'm like, you know what? There's so much before me that I don't know about, that I would love to know about. And also, if people remember those good times, maybe they'd be interested in learning to see who started it all, or see
Well, I would,
just
I would love to see it come back. So I'm glad that we did this. I would love to see it come back. And listen, I just think they got to make it a little more edgy and re-engage the readership. I'll never forget one thing that was said to me by the publisher of the Times Leader when I started it. We went to lunch like that day that I just told you about. And he was asking me what's on the cover, and I said, "Well, there's a woman in a bikini. It says, 'Does your mother know you strip?'" And it was the article I talked about, that the woman that put herself through college that way. It was a great story, quite frankly. Stories like that weren't being told there. And he looked at me, and I've actually lived with these words. And he said, "Jim, if you get readers, you'll get advertisers. So do it." So I followed that mantra for a few years.
yeah. I mean, that's how it works, right?
Yep,
That's exactly how it works.
yep.
So yeah, it's unfortunate we kind of lost our way. I think it just became not bland. It became safe. It became you know clean to an extent.
Right, right.
But
Gotta take chances, Johnny.
yeah,
Life is full of opportunities to do it. Be smart about it, but
right. That's what I'll take away too. Take chances. Write that one down. But
then if you fail on that chance, you just get up and take another one.
yeah, I talked to I'm releasing a podcast on Friday. Well, this will be out next week, but between you and I, this Friday, a young kid, musician, and he was a trader on Wall Street. Great job, made a lot of money, and then he just quit his job to focus on music.
Mhm.
And young kid, and so I told him, I said, people always told me, like, do it when you're young, because you have a chance to, if it doesn't work out or whatever, you can,
Move on. Yeah, do something else. Right.
it's not too late to, you're not married with kids and, a house and all that kind of stuff where
Right.
you can fail now and not, lose. So,
Right. Right. Well, I mean, listen, you can fail when you're in your 50s too and still recover.
yeah,
There's a lot of failures in life, mini failures, whatever, that aggregate into success. And, having played sports and competitive golf and things like that, and been in business enough, and tried stuff. I've tried all kinds of stuff. We did a thing at Philadelphia Weekly called Brain Soap, which was kind of a garage band thing too, right? And failed completely.
brain
Right?
soap.
It was called Brain Soap at brainsoap.com. So it was really just to preview local bands.
Okay.
but we didn't have the technology or the depth of knowledge or knew how to monetize it. It was an idea before its time, MySpace, but hey, it is what it is. I'm not embarrassed by that. I tried something. I
Yeah.
recognized it wasn't working. I moved on to something else. So
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right?
yeah, yep,
So
for sure. Listen, thank you. I appreciate the time.
thank
I'm
you.
looking out for it and share it. I'll share it on social media. My dismay next week.
Yeah, even though you don't believe in it, but we'll share it on social media.
Yeah, exactly. We might as well use it for something, right?
Yeah, well, this is a good conversation. This is, speaking about positivity and optimism and all that kind of stuff. This is good. This is good to share.
Agree.
So
It's great talking. Thank you
you
so
too.
much.
Thank you very much.
All right. See you.
All right, see ya.